Hello and welcome to the Lazy Book Club podcast, the book club for those who don't want to read or leave the house. My name is Matt Gonzalez.
My name's David Cox.
And I'm Josh Matheson.
And this episode is a little bit of a different one. This is our epilogue episode to commemorate us finishing our very, very first book,
Yay!
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Let's have a cake.
Yeah, and to commemorate this, we have a special guest with us this week.
Hello.
We have Noah from the Gaming Arc, which is a gaming channel on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
So Noah's going to be our games master today. We've got an Alice's Adventures in Wonderland quiz coming later, so we can
excited.
see which of me, Josh and David remember the most about the book. So we're going to get quizzed by Noah. And also, when I first announced that I was going to be doing Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Noah had a lot of insight in terms of, have you heard about this theory? And have you heard about this theory? And I've read the book in Spanish and I've read the book in English. And in the Spanish translation, it says this. And in the English translation, it says that. And I was kind of like, I don't want to do any of this research. You sound like you already know what you're doing. So I'm just going to bring you on the podcast and then I don't have to do anything.
You honestly make me sound like the most eager beaver as well. Like, pick me. Can I be on the podcast?
Could I just say, there was a very big grin when I said, do you want to just come on the podcast?
I mean,
you were very
yeah,
excited.
I was like, yes.
But also, it wouldn't be the Lazy Book Club if we did loads of research.
It's true.
You have to bring other people in.
We're just conversing and saying, like, well, Matt edits and puts it together. Josh does these incredible readings. No word of a lie. Matt says we're going to do the recording this time. I turn up.
You swan in.
I eat the sweets. I drink the tea. And that's it.
You laugh at Josh and give him a really hard time,
Yeah.
really difficult accents, and then go home and go, well, that was nice.
I'm essentially a director.
Just quickly, so you've said that you've read or you've watched two translations of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, right?
So growing up, most of for context, I'm half Latina. And so growing up, I had a lot of recordings of Spanish versions of like classic Disney films.
But you said there were some differences between the two translations.
Yeah.
I remember you saying the very first opening of the book's quite different.
Well, yeah. So with the film one, it would start off, a rough translation, I guess, would be, hello, my friends. Have you ever heard of this wonderful place called Wonderland? It's this gorgeous place that you go to when you fall asleep. And I'm going to tell you a story about Alice and her adventure in Wonderland. So it sets it off as...
This is a dream.
It's a dream. This is someone's version of what happened when they fell asleep in their dream world.
So that kind of gives away the gist of the story right at the start, because obviously in this English version, it just says she saw a rabbit and you kind of don't really know if she's still conscious. Is she asleep?
Because like in the films,
the lines are more blurred.
Yeah, in the film, it's at the end when she's trying to escape the dream, like she's being chased by the Queen and everyone, and she goes back to the small door. Who's like, I'm still locked, and so she looks through the keyhole and she sees herself asleep under the tree. Yeah. So she's trying to wake herself up, being like, Alice, wake up, and that's
you need to get out.
How it transitions in the film. In the audiobook, she gets pricked by one of the cards, like one of the soldiers. They throw like a spear at her. She gets pricked in the hand. And when she wakes up, she finds that it was a mosquito bite. And that's kind of the correlation. So she wakes up because she got bitten by a mosquito. And that's how her brain interpreted that in her dream. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So there's a bit of real life invading the subconscious, which kind of happens all the way through the book anyway, with her lessons and...
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly all these facts that she's learnt in school seem to be really appropriate for Wonderland, but it's obviously her subconscious.
And actually, there is a theory that the dog in the book that appeared is the only animal that doesn't speak.
Yeah.
And they say that it could be that it's actually her dog in real life coming and like trying to wake her up, and so she's like semi-conscious interacting with the dog, and then she goes back to the dream world. And the reason why it doesn't talk is because it's an actual dog.
Yeah.
So you said there's a couple of theories regarding the origins of the story or what might have inspired this story.
Yeah.
So which theory would you like to start with?
So I'll sort of start with how it kind of came about to begin with, because...
Are you going to actually give us the history of the book that we've all not bothered to look at?
Yeah, I mean...
Amazing.
As best as I
Pop your feet up.
This is like a book report episode.
Yeah. Originally, Carol Lewis, his name is actually, as you mentioned, Charles Ludwig
Dodgson.
Yeah, Dodgson. He's actually Reverend Charles Dodgson.
Oh.
And he was a deacon of the Anglican Church, yeah.
Oh, wow.
In the church, Christ Church in Oxford. And that's where he met Henry Liddell, and he was the dean of that church at the time. And actually, he became really close friends with the dean, and the dean had multiple children, and he would tell stories to them. And one of the stories that he would tell the 3 daughters, Alice, Lorena, and Edith, was the story of Alice. So he would just basically, it said that he took them on a boat ride. They were having a picnic. He took them on a boat ride one golden afternoon, which I think is a reference to the second book. And just basically told them a story about a bored little girl and just an adventure that she went on, which Alice was then like, oh my gosh, I'm in a book. That's amazing. Please write it down. Please write it down. And so he would then like write it down, put it in letters, and eventually went to get it published so he could give it to her as a Christmas present. And it was originally called Alice's Adventure Underground.
Oh.
And it was just that.
Because I was doing some research and I found another alternative title, which was Alice's Hour in Elfland, was another kind of version that he went through before settling on.
Bizarre.
That didn't happen. None of the characters were
Elves.
No.
Yeah.
But the thing is, actually, is a lot of the characters that we come to associate with the book wasn't even in that original version that he gave to Alice. Oh. So the characters like the Mad Hatter and the whole tea party scene, that wasn't in there. Now there was Cheshire Cat, now was the Duchess.
Are you me talking about like as in the stories that he used to tell her?
No, in the original story that
first
he
edition
eventually published and gave to her was called Alice's Adventure Underground and didn't have any of those characters.
Right.
And the reason why those characters then came to be was, I think a publisher came across it and was like, this is great, you need to turn it into a book. And he was like, all right. Because that's how they spoke back then.
Yeah, cool.
Like, yeah, right, mate.
And they were like, oh, it's only a short story. You're going to need to make more of a word count. He's like, it's fine. I'll fill it with poems and songs and nonsense.
What he did was he then changed it to be this like fantastical land that has all these crazy creatures, which is why a lot of people assumed that, it must be drug related. Because during the time when the book was published in 1865, opium and other types of drugs were just
cocaine,
in major use at the time. But it's said that he himself was not a drug user.
Right.
So you can see his diaries are all published and they're on display at the museums, and he mentions like drinking sherry, and there is one opioid that he took every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't actually a drug user. So nothing in his story is actually based on drugs. The theory came about is mainly because of the whole 60s thing, and everyone's like, it has to be. Mushroom. Yeah, it's like, a magic mushroom. She eats a mushroom. It must therefore be. But it's like that mushroom is only magic in the context of the story of where she is. And she's been eating cakes and growing up and down. There's nothing special.
No.
Between the cake
unless they're weed cakes
and the she
got them in Amsterdam.
There's no difference between the mushroom and the cake and the drink and the it's all just a plot device. But actually, what made the book fantastical was maths.
Right.
That's what brought about the tea party. That's what brought about the Cheshire Cat. That's what brought about the Duchess. That's what brought about the caterpillar and shrinking and growing was mathematics.
All right.
You're going to have to explain it. I'm like X equals one Duchess plus caterpillar equals maths.
Please show you're working.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know.
Well, actually, he himself was a mathematician.
Okay.
So
many people in this era seem to be. They seem to be like a scholar and a vicar, or a.
But you mentioned in the first
lawyer.
chapter, you're like, how could he possibly know the distance to the center of the earth, or why was he so specific with these numbers and stuff? It was because he himself was
a stickler for numbers.
He was a mathematician, but more so than anything else, is he was a traditional conservative mathematician, and right around this time was when the extravagant world of imaginary numbers and square roots of minus numbers and all of that came in, and it challenged maths, and he was very much like, no, I don't agree with that.
Right,
okay. A purist.
Yeah, so he was like,
his newfangled equations.
He was like, this isn't a thing that you can, because he was a tutor. He was like, this isn't a thing that you can teach undergrads. This is all like abstract,
theoretical,
right. And he very much valued elucid elements, which was just basically like geometry, circles, very heavy in the logical reasoning. And so all of this was just like, what? So Alice in Wonderland, or Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, became a satire book towards maths.
So the reason you're saying maths made all these characters is that these are all meant to represent
he's
this
using
newfangled,
them.
ridiculous
He's using them
maths that
to
he
show
doesn't
how
like.
ridiculous the maths is.
Right, okay.
Wow.
So does each of the characters actually stand for something he derided, or is it just generally they represent that group of people?
It's a bit of both, really. So some of them it is generally, so like the fact that Alice is, when she meets the caterpillar, the fact that she grows big and small, but it's not as a unit, it's her neck growing super small, or her entire body is going. It's like, it's because nothing is constrained anymore. Nothing is following rules.
Rules, yeah. But then that's Wonderland generally.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like Alice is so thrown off it. She can't even remember her like 10 times table, whatever it was, because she's just like, what on earth is this?
How do I make sense of this?
Yeah, nothing makes sense in Wonderland.
Yeah, and then even the Mock Turtle and the Griffin talking about the subjects at school, they talk about arithmetic, but rather than addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, they have different names.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they all were.
It's like uglification, derision.
So he's just taking the mick out of
In, for example, the Tea Party scene. So during the time, there was this mathematician, Irish mathematician called William Hamilton, and Carol didn't like him very much because he came up with a new arithmetic called, and I'm going to say this wrong, quaternions? Don't know.
Sure, I'll buy that, yeah.
Quaternions are numbers not to deal with counting things, but to deal with understanding rotations. He said that one of the 4 terms that's involved in these numbers had to be time. So time was inexplicably and inescapably bound to all these new numbers. But when you read the bit about the Mad Hatter, they very obviously mention time as a person, and he is absent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he said, if you take the parameter out of these new numbers, the numbers can just keep rotating around and around. They won't go anywhere. And it's just like the characters.
Like them changing places at the
constantly
table.
changing places because they're stuck.
Yeah.
They've lost time.
The
Because
parameter
time's been
of time.
they've taken away these parameters so these numbers could exist, and it's just thrown everything for a loop. They're stuck at 6 o'clock forever. They had a fight with time, and that's how it is. So it's literally very much just a
theoretical
heavy, very heavy mathematical book.
So you said there was one more theory though, which is like an innocence theory thing.
There was.
What's that about?
So basically, there is the similar to the drugs one, except this theory doesn't really have a conclusion because you can't talk to the dead.
Yeah.
And it's about his relationship with children and innocence in general.
Yeah, so having looked through some of the Reddit forums regarding Lewis Carroll, there seems to be a little bit of I didn't delve that deeply, I was just reading the comments and what people said, but I was getting a bit of a Michael Jackson vibe. I'm not saying anything was happening,
no,
but definitely identified or enjoyed that childlike innocence and being around that wide-eyed kind of
exactly.
curiosity.
There's this thing where it's like everyone is very quick to jump on the like, he's a pedophile, you know, that kind of thing, and oh no, he's, you know, he wrote this great book but it's actually got darker meanings and stuff. And obviously, like I said, you can't talk to the dead, and Alice herself never came out and said anything. So it is just all theory,
conjecture, right?
Yeah, but the reason why they think that, or the reason why he has an obsession with innocence, if we take out the sort of paedophile side of things, is that he was the 3rd in a family of, I think it was 11.
Oh, wow.
The first male born. And he grew up kind of just raising his siblings and telling them stories and loved telling stories and just had a genuine connection with younger kids, and said that kids loved to be around him. He was just like really fun to be around, and so he would make stories, and when he met with the dean, he got on with the kids and he would like look after them, blah 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 blah. The kind of dodgy side of things is there is a point where he mysteriously, for unknown reasons, stopped being in contact with the dean and his family.
As in, like, their relationship ended abruptly and they never spoke again?
So no, it's so much for like a couple months, he almost was just like almost not allowed, or the relationship was broken with him and his family.
But they patched things up again.
Yeah, and then they became friendly after a few months, but it never got to the same relationship. Right. Now, obviously, there are a lot of theories as like why that is. Was it that he propositioned marriage to Alice, who was probably at the time about...
But he was already married at that point.
No, he was never married.
Did he never marry?
No, he was a bachelor.
Oh.
I read mixed bits about whether or not he was ordained, in which case he had a celibacy as part of it.
Which unfortunately kind of makes the whole pedo thing a little bit worse.
That's like, throwing wood on the fire, really. But the other, so there is that break with the family that mysteriously that his diary has those pages missing. So no one actually knows why or what happened, because those pages are missing. No one in the family came out and said anything. Like Alice herself didn't say anything. It was all sort of like
hush.
Yeah, could it be that he propositioned marriage, but Alice was a bit too young, even in Victorian age, that was frowned upon. Was it something else? No one knows. That the other, I guess, red flag was he was very into photography, which was very new at the time. And he would photograph little children as well as adults, often in various states of undress.
Right.
Now, to provide some context, because you hear that.
What's funny is that, like, at first I was like, there was the comments, I got a vibe of like a Michael Jackson vibe, but I didn't see any evidence. And then as you're kind of saying things, it's becoming a little bit more creepy.
Yeah. But see,
he's got his own theme park.
Oh, yeah.
But see, here's the thing. Again, obviously, in our time, you're taking pictures of children who aren't your children, regardless of various
states of undress,
is seemed like a huge no-no. How the heck could you ever get away with that? Yeah. Clearly, the parents didn't know. Actually, the parents did know. They would commission him to take pictures, and actually, pictures of children, including naked children, was just purely the epitome of innocence. It was like, this is the purest form of innocence there could be. A small child.
I mean, you see it in
the world,
like ancient Greek art,
in classicism and paintings. Yeah, it was always naked babies.
So it was actually sort of the time as well, including one of Alice herself, dressed almost as like a beggar girl, so in torn clothes and stuff. A lot of people thought, maybe he didn't have the parents' permission, that's why they broke off. But the parents themselves had a colour copy of that.
Right.
So
I think, you could also turn this on its head and say maybe actually it's a sad representation of the times now, where we automatically deem a body as sexualized. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We immediately, as soon as we see skin, that's something that's something sexual, rather than actually it being something innocent, like a kid playing on the beach naked.
Yeah.
There's
and that obviously
that
is not to say, that's not conclusive proof as to no, he's not, nor is it conclusive proof as yes, he is. It is purely like, this is just all we know, and a lot of people will take things out of context.
Well, and I think
the drugs,
it's also,
just like the pictures, and be like, this is what this story is about. And it's like, well, actually,
I think it's also about what lens you're looking at it through as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously with the whole Jimmy Savile thing and all the rest of it, the difference there was people knew at the time what was going on. It wasn't just the case looking back, you're like, that's a bit dodgy. Everyone knew. Exactly. People knew exactly what was going on. Whereas with this instance, maybe because it is so far away, all we have is just conjecture and placing the actions of this person now in a modern context. Yes, you would probably say something weird was going on.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe you do need to look at it through the lens of a more innocent time where this kind of sexualization of things didn't happen until the 60s,
Yeah.
you know.
And it is very much like he wrote this story, and a lot of people think he genuinely didn't, apart from the math side of things, he didn't put as much thought into all the theories that everyone's giving it. He genuinely wanted it to be a
Children's
piece
book.
of pleasure to read and enjoyment, and that was it. Yes, he could use it as a dig
For
for maths
subtext,
because like kids aren't really going to know about that. But it was genuinely just to be
The
enjoyed.
motivation
Yeah.
wasn't to dig at society.
No,
The
because
motivation was to entertain.
Yeah, because it started off as him, like, if Alice hadn't been like, please write this down. I love
He
these
wouldn't
stories
have.
that you're telling me. This thing
It
would
would have
just be
just
like,
been a day's story on a boat.
yeah, exactly.
You've got a few questions that you're going to ask.
Yeah,
we
I've,
thought it'd be nice to finish off with who remembers the most. I do put my hand up and think, I'm going to say this now. I might end up losing. But obviously, I have listened to these podcasts a lot more than everyone else around the table, so I might have a
Unfair
slight
advantage.
unfair advantage.
And to
But
be
we'll
fair,
find out.
Like
You've read it.
No, but I read them. But I sometimes I'm so focused on reading it in the ridiculous voices that you give me. I'm not paying any slightly attention to what I'm reading.
You've also worked on productions of it before, so I feel like I'm
Okay, that's
definitely at the biggest disadvantage. So if I don't lose, that's amazing. Can we just say
Right. You're judging us if we
Essentially,
lose
yeah.
to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was originally going to write the quiz, and I thought that's a lot of work, and this is the Lazy Book Club, so
Absolutely.
I found one.
Yeah.
Get into the vibe.
There it is.
Yeah.
Get those spark notes up.
It's a study help one from cliffnotes.com.
Amazing.
If anybody else, although we'll be giving you the answer, so you might not want to check it out yourself, but still. So
hang on, how are we gonna
Should we make a
in?
noise?
Do we buzz in with our name, or do we buzz in with a funny noise, or do we?
I think we should pick something from the book here.
Okay, like a favourite thing.
Okay.
A one syllable.
I think
Yeah,
yours needs to be I don't believe it.
Well, the Sarah
The Geordie
Millican.
Pigeon.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. yeah. Okay.
Mine's gonna be off with her head.
Yeah.
Great.
It's a Cheshire cat. Pig. Do you remember? That was her opening,
Oh, okay. I can.
and that is
The duck.
So you're saying
I don't believe it.
I feel like mine's really long.
Just
Okay,
say-
just say it's a
pig.
Cheshire cat.
or just say pig or something.
Yeah, just say pig.
pig. Cut that.
And what was yours?
Off with her head.
Okay, cool. So
I'm gonna go back because I'm probably
all of these are multiple choice, so I can either give you the multiple choice or just hope that you give
Just
me the right answer.
Ask the question, see if we know the answer, and then if
Okay.
we don't, then give us the multiple choice.
Okay, so question 1. Alice is constantly perplexed and confused because of Wonderland's lack of what?
Off with her head.
Yes?
Rules?
Close?
Big. Is it morals?
No.
No, it's not morals. It's the Duchess.
Do I now get a freebie? Because you've.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
on. We've had a guess.
I
Who's
don't
closest?
believe it. Time.
No, the answer was logic, so you were very close with
Oh,
rules.
see, I feel like, do I get that?
No, you don't get it.
Oh, fine.
Okay, so question 2.
You're very competitive. You did warn us before. You went, sorry, can you have a tiebreaker ready? Because I'm very, very competitive and I don't want any draws. I want a winner.
Good grief.
Well, question 2. At the Mad Tea Party are the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and...
Off with her head!
Oh, that was very, very close, but I think you got that.
The Dormouse.
Yes.
Darn it.
I knew that, but I couldn't get that quickly.
Okay. It's always 6 o'clock at the Mad Tea Party because the Mad Hatter had a falling out with
Time.
Yeah!
I love how high the voice gets.
Even Sarah Millican doesn't go that high. Yeah.
Question
There's
4.
1-1.
1-1.
The blue caterpillar can best be described as...
I don't believe it. Rude.
Yes!
I was going to say high as a kite because he's smoking.
I was going to say glamorous.
One of yours really answers.
The Queen's Garden is tended by cards of what suit?
Off with her... Oh.
Pig.
Spade.
Yes.
I hate having given him such a short thing now.
Just say head.
That
Or
sounds
off.
wrong. Just shouting head.
So I think Noah will be able to see when we've said it first. I mean, like if the phrase is
Yeah.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, as long as you started your
I'm going to put my hand up as well. So
Okay.
it's like...
the white rabbit pelts Alice with small pebbles that turn into
Pig!
what? Pig?
Cakes.
Yes! I hope you're keeping
Is that
scores, 'cause
3?
I'm
I've
not.
got 3 now.
Okay.
I really want to win.
And you do.
Oh,
I can
that's
tell.
a surprise.
What animal does the Duchess's baby turn into?
I don't believe it! A pig.
Yes!
Pig! Pig!
Pig.
And what does the March Hare first offer Alice when she sits down at
don't
the tea
believe it.
party? Yes.
That's not
Why?
your thing.
Why?
Oh, I'm in the red.
I don't believe it. I think it was fine. Said it now.
Okay. Do you get that? Is you the wrong buzzer? Okay. Yeah.
The correct answer was
All
wine.
of them. Up in the red. Wine.
Yes. So, when Alice leaves the mad tea party, with the Hatter and the March Hare are attempting to do what?
Up in the red.
Yes?
Stuff the dormouse in the teapot.
Yes, except here it says drown the dormouse
They're
in the
trying to drown
teapot.
him. It's even darker.
All the way back to like chapter 3, when Alice, swimming in the pool of tears, fails to communicate with the mouse, what does she try speaking?
Pig!
Yes?
French.
French.
Ooh, my shot.
I don't speak French.
So, when the Cheshire Cat tells Alice, you must be or you wouldn't have come here, he's accusing Alice of being what?
Oh.
Yes.
Mad.
Mad.
I was going to think. Yeah, it's like
It's
it's
turned
like
into a
someone.
turkey.
It's like someone poke my bum with a pin every time.
Who says the following? If everybody minded their business, the
Off with the
world
red.
would go around a lot faster than it
Duchess.
was. Yes.
Oh, I didn't. I see. I wouldn't have even.
Oh, it was only because you shouted it and it made me jump. If everybody minded their own business.
I don't remember doing this.
You said it really loud, and we all just burst out laughing because it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Who said the following? Why? You might as well say that I see what I eat is the same as I eat what I see.
March Hare.
No. I need a buzzer.
I don't
Up
believe
in
it.
Yes.
Pigeon.
No.
Up in the red. Dormouse.
No.
Oh, it's the Hatter. Damn it.
Mad Hatter.
No one gets that. I don't remember that. So
You need to listen to the podcast more.
So who's currently winning?
I've got
I
5.
think he is. I'm on 4.
I've got
Okay.
2.
Well, this is the last question. So if you
Great.
get this, it's
It's
a
a
tiebreaker. Whom does the white rabbit mistake Alice for?
Oh, up in the red.
Yes.
Marianne.
Yes.
Why,
House of
Marianne?
Marianne.
Marianne, what are you doing?
Is there a tiebreaker?
Yeah.
Tiebreaker.
How many words are there in the whole book?
Why, Marianne?
I can't believe I actually got some. I was,
Yeah,
you can see
mate.
what I was up against.
Yeah.
I was really thinking that one of the questions was going to be who's that dunce of a friend that Alice keeps taking the mick out of, and I can't remember the answer.
Mabel.
Mabel.
It's a good job that wasn't.
Yeah.
Mabel wakes up. You're like, you were talking in your sleep.
Yeah. Mabel's actually the
I have
playmate.
ever-
We're not
that
friends
Alice is
anymore.
so bored with playing with her.
This one is which character seems to have a fondness for treacle?
Up in the red.
Oh, that was so close.
Go on.
The Dormouse.
Yes.
It's going to mean more to him. He's more competitive than me.
Well done.
Well done, Josh.
You win
Good
a
quiz.
shrimp. No.
There's none in there. We've eaten them all. I
got
think the randoms aren't open yet. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
have a random.
I'll have a Roundtree's random.
Yeah, which
We've got
seems
3.
quite in
Apt,
tune
yeah.
with
Random, yeah.
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Well done, Josh,
Thank you.
for winning
Well
the
done.
conclusive episode of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Thank you very much, Noah, for coming in
You're
and
very
giving us
welcome.
Thank
a
you.
quiz and all of your knowledge. We definitely would not have done that research ourselves. So
I've
thank you
learned
very
a lot.
much.
I feel like I'm
Yeah,
enriched.
it was very
Brilliant.
eloquently presented as well.
It shows you how
Thank you.
much in the day-to-day episodes, how sort of like at the sort of base level we're operating. Like he had a funny voice.
So true. That's just us. Yeah. So that concludes our first book. And we should probably announce what we're going to be doing next. Yes. So to keep in line with the fairy tales and the Disney theme, we thought that we'd do a book which won't throw a curveball at all of our listeners straight away. We will probably get onto more serious books later on, but we want to keep it light and
I'm
fluffy
very open
and fun
to
for now.
suggestions.
Yes, if you do have any suggestions for any
The
classic
Bible.
books,
Read the Bible in a year.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. Can we make God a Geordie or a Scouser or something? I don't know. So yes, if you do have any suggestions for any classic books, then please do write in, tweet at us. We'd definitely love to hear what you'd love to hear Josh reading. But we think for our next one, we'd like to do Peter Pan. Which sounded like a question. It's not. It's actually Peter Pan.
No, we're doing Peter Pan.
Yeah. So I'm guessing everybody here has seen the Disney films.
I have seen the Disney
Lots,
film.
yeah. I know Peter Pan better than I do Alice, I think.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
I feel like I do.
Well, I'd be able to actually tell you the whole story. Alice in Wonderland, I kind of would have dropped off halfway through. I knew about her falling down the hole. I knew about a white rabbit. I knew about the Mad Hatter. After that, didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
I've also watched that in Spanish.
Oh, there you go. You're trying to get another epilogue.
Yes,
job.
guys, I'll be here. Tweet them if you want me at every epilogue.
So yeah, we'll keep it up with the classics that are fairy tales that most people have watched but never actually read. I've never read Peter Pan all the way through. I had a little glance at the first chapter and it seems very, very absurd, which is why we're picking it.
Yeah.
Loads of wacky characters, obviously, that we can add in later on as well. So please do stay tuned for our next book, which will start next week. This is bye from everybody.
Bye.
Bye.